Hello folks and welcome back to Wreck and Rule. This is Brian coming at you today with something a little bit different. I apologize, I'm recording this at home on my phone, not on Joe's super sweet technical setup. He will make fun of me for doing this. It's how Joe is. You love him. I mostly love him. So today, guys, is going to do a deck tech where I talk about probably my favorite deck to play right now, which I call Thunderbee. So the lineup here is Fireflight, Bumblebee, and Thundercracker. I've written an article about this, but also wanted to supplement it with a video deck tech as well, and also kind of just try out doing a video deck tech. Joe has done these, but I have not really done it. So to begin with, our lineup does come up with, so we've got 5 stars, 10 stars, and 8 stars, which, if my math is correct, puts me at 23. So we will be running 2 star cards in here as well. Let's talk about the team quickly, one by one. So first up, we have Fireflight. His only relevant mode here is going to be his plane mode, which has Brave. We're going to use him to force attackers to come into him. 1 attack, 7 health, 2 defense, so he's not really very useful. The 2 defense to begin with is going to help us a little bit in that we have a mostly blue deck, so he might survive more than 1 hit if we are lucky. We pretty much are never really going to flip him into bot mode. So in bot mode, he does go to 2 attack, and if he has 4 or more damage on him, he gets an additional +1 attack, putting him at a massive 3. Having him in bot mode doesn't really help. So we will, again, for the most part, just keep him in plane mode, which is going to help in that Bumblebee pretty frequently will want to flip. Thundercracker, depending on the team that we're facing, if they have melee, may also want to flip. The other relevant part for our list here, we're not going to run any plane cards, but we are definitely going to have a couple of ranged cards in there, so that will also help us a little bit. All right, Fireflight is done. Let's talk now about Bumblebee. So this is the Wave 2 common Bumblebee. You guys probably have 10 copies of him laying around. 5 attack in car mode and then 6 attack in bot mode is strong. We like those. He's got 14 health, which is also good. He's got 2 defense in car mode. He has 1 defense in bot mode. It is going to be a little bit scary in that we will primarily want to attack with him in bot mode, which means that he will be a little bit more vulnerable when he is being attacked back. He does have useful skills though. So in his robot mode, when he attacks, you can scrap an action from your hand. If you do, you'll draw 2 cards. So that's good because it will help us to fish for certain cards that we want. We definitely want to try to get Brainstorm. We want to get Leap of Faith. So this mode will help us to draw into them. On top of that, his flip into car mode is going to help us. When you flip into it, you may play an action. That is going to help us when we attack with Thundercracker when he's in bot mode, because when you play an action, you will get +1 attack until the end of the turn. So this is a way to cheat out some additional actions if we don't have Brainstorm, or to supplement Brainstorm and then power up Thundercracker to crazy, crazy levels. The other neat thing about Bumblebee is he is going to be good as our first attacker because he will almost certainly survive that first hit. Again, that 1 defense is scary, but 14 health is pretty good. So we'll send him out as our first attacker. We'll talk about that more later. Finally, guys, Thundercracker, you guys know that I've had a love affair with him since Wave 1. Definitely my favorite character to play as. And the entire reason is this bot mode ability. So just playing as many actions as you can, pumping him up to insane levels of damage, and in some cases also Pierce. We'll talk about that soon too. Ranged will be relevant, and actually if we really quick just kind of go back, Bumblebee in his bot mode is ranged. So with all of our characters here, they will be ranged in all modes except for Bumblebee in car mode. So that will help us with some of the cards that we play. 5 attack, pretty decent in bot mode. 12 health, pretty good. 1 defense makes us worried. Thundercracker has always been vulnerable in the list that we play him in. My previous favorite list to run him with was Flame War, Shockwave, and then Thundercracker. We used Flame War to try to buff up, give him tough, and run him in an almost entirely blue deck to keep him alive. we're going to use Fireflight essentially as a shield in order to keep Thundercracker alive until we can get a massive, massive swing with him. And if we can get 2 really good swings with Thundercracker, the game is probably ours unless we are facing a 4 or 5 wide team. In some cases, Thundercracker's flip into jet mode, where he can do 2 damage to a melee enemy, will also be really helpful. So we will come back to talking about the characters a little bit once we talk about the upgrades. So to begin with, we're going to be running 2 Noble Blasters and then 1 Scoundrel's Blaster. We have 2 Autobot characters, and we have 1 Decepticon character. These are green. You can retrieve them on flips, so you can pull weapons in. Noble, I like a lot on Fireflight, especially if we are facing against a team that has a Decepticon, because it'll guarantee that we get 2 Pierce if we're attacking a Decepticon. It's not bad on Bumblebee because you'll be able to push him from a native 5 or 6 attack up until 7 or 8, possibly also getting Pierce. And then Scoundrel is also good. We put this on Thundercracker. This way we buff him up again to either 6 or 7 attack, but it's the Pierce 2 that will maybe be the kind of the really big help there, especially if we are facing an Autobot team, because we have some other Pierce cards in here that we'll talk about soon. I've sort of, in a blue deck, I like diversifying my team, and then kind of, depending on how many Autobots and how many Decepticons you have, will alter how many of each of these you take. So I like it in order to be able to sneak Pierce through in case they have a heavy blue team as well. Can help you to get the kill when you otherwise might not be sure of it. From here, let's move on to our next upgrade. We are going to be running 3 copies of Drill Arms. So the reason why, first of all, with Thundercracker, we want to hit out with massive, massive swings. And if the other player has a force field, or they have reinforced plating, or they have body armor, or they have sparring gear, this will help to knock it off. It also has a side benefit of if they don't have any armor on the field, and if we are fishing to get certain cards, again, probably Brainstorm or Leap of Faith, this can help us to draw a card if they have no armor on the field. Next up, we're going to be running 2 copies of Armed Hovercraft. Like we said before, our 3 characters, out of the 6 possible modes that they're in, 5 of those 6 modes are ranged. So this is great to kind of ping out to get some automatic damage, direct damage out there. It's also good to get some unexpected plays where they've got a character hanging on by 1, so you can use this to kill off that character to attack a different character that they did not think would be vulnerable that turn. I do like to maybe throw this onto Fireflight, just because unless Fireflight can get a Pierce effect, he's usually not going to be doing damage. But this will kind of just ensure that Fireflight is useful in that whole damage race. I don't know if you guys heard that buzz. If so, I apologize. Next up, we have 2 copies of Grenade Launcher. This is in here to just kind of spike damage. So this will get Bumblebee in bot mode up to 10 damage on his attack. And then Thundercracker, if we're swinging in with a bunch of actions, this is going to add +4 into that as well. We can't really guarantee that Thundercracker is going to get more than 1 attack depending on the list that we're facing. So this will kind of make sure that that 1 attack will definitely help us. One of the few orange cards that we have, but Grenade Launcher, you guys know, is powerful. From here, we're going to be running 3 copies of Reinforced. We're going to be running 2 copies of Sparring Gear. They both do the same thing. They both have Tough 2. The pip is different, and Sparring Gear is retrievable. We're running these because this is good to throw onto B, because B will be soaking at least 2 attacks. If we can make him survive being able to soak in a 3rd strong attack, it's great. This is also good. The longer that we force the opponent to go into Fireflight, the better. Starting off with 2 defense is pretty good. Our deck is mostly blue, so it can maybe squeeze out an extra turn or 2 where Fireflight is drawing their attacks and keeping it off of B, or especially Thundercracker. Sparring Gear is retrievable, which is also good. From here, last upgrade that we're running is the Matrix. So it's a utility. It is the only utility that we're running. This is out there because B is a leader in both modes. And it's mostly there to buff up Fireflight's attacks or Thundercracker's attacks, and also has the benefit of giving them Pierce as well. We also do like it because it is orange-blue, so whether we flip it on attack or defense, it's going to also help us out. It is the only utility, so really the other interesting thing is that for the most part, this is going to be the only possible dead card that we might see if we play Leap of Faith and then we flip out a card. If Thundercracker is your last character left, this can only be put onto Autobots, so that would make us sad if that would happen. Okay, and kind of just to do a quick count, so with upgrades we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We have 16, so we are running instead, we are definitely heavily pushing towards actions. Let's talk about them. So Brainstorm, obviously we're running 3 of. That is there to buff up Thundercracker, get as many actions as we can out there to get him up to crazy levels of damage. We have our 2 stars here. So Leap of Faith is out there. Just insane bonkers plays. If you could, Brainstorm into Leap of Faith or Leap of Faith into Brainstorm, you can start really throwing some crazy numbers of actions out there. You could luck into throwing out weapons or especially armor. Armor, we tend, if the only upgrade we play is armor, it's a little bit sad for us. But if we can throw an armor out there as a result of Leap of Faith, it doesn't feel like a waste. But like we said, we're trying to save Leap of Faith for our Thundercracker turns. We're trying to get extra actions out there. It's also a white pip, so it's going to help us to either defend or to attack. From here, our next series of cards are focused on helping us draw. So we're running 3 copies of Pep Talk. We're running 2 copies of Work Overtime. Work Overtime might be something that we try to bump up to a 3 of, because you guys know as well as I do, when we are playing Thundercracker and we do a big Brainstorm turn, we are also dumping our hand, so it's going to help us to refill that hand. Could also help us if we are trying to fish, if we have Brainstorm into some more actions. This can help us to refill that hand to try to get, Leap into Battle, or Bigger They Are, or Heavy-Handed, to help to buff up our attack as well. So again, we're considering Work Overtime could maybe be a 3 of. From here, we're going to run 2 copies of Rollout. The reason why is we sometimes will have turns where flipping Thundercracker into jet mode to do 2 to a melee enemy will help us. Sometimes being able to get Bumblebee into car mode to play an action can help us too. It's there for that. It is also there for the orange and the blue. This one here is kind of like a corner case card. If you're looking to fit in that extra Work Overtime or something different, this could be something that you cut. But again, there are occasions where getting that Thundercracker flip will make a difference, especially thinking about, Shrapnel. It means that you have to attack him less times. And also with melee characters in general, it just gives you a lot of extra plays. We're going to also run 3 copies of Marksmanship. So a lot like with Armed Hovercraft, we have ranged modes in 5 out of 6 of the characters that we have. Pinging out for that 2 is going to be great, especially if you can either set up to be able to kill a character by then attacking with B or Thundercracker after you play this, or to finish off a character that you would otherwise have to waste a big attack onto. You do have to note, Marksmanship only works if the enemy that you're targeting is in bot mode. Do also note that that does not include combiner modes. Different thing. And then from here, we're going to be running 3 Leap into Battle. It is quite simply just a +3 attack. We've seen this since Wave 1. It's good. We're using it. Especially because we can try to get multiple copies of it with Brainstorm into play or Leap of Faith. And try to also maybe combine that with either Bigger They Are or Heavy Handed. Speaking of which, we are running 3 copies of Heavy Handed and then 3 copies of Bigger They Are. So a few kind of quick notes here is that the Bigger They Are can help to unexpectedly get Fireflight to actually do damage. So you will only be able to do Pierce 3 unless you have some other type of attack boosting upgrade or you flip an orange. But he can surprisingly, ping out there. 4 damage is, it's a third of a lot of characters' health. That can be a big deal. The other thing to note is, this is good with Bumblebee because 10 stars, for the most part, you're going to be more stars than a lot of characters, but a lot of characters that we'll be afraid of. Nemesis, Prime, Battlefield Legend. Bumblebee is less than, so in that case, then we use the Bigger They Are. So we have our options covered either way. Thundercracker at 8 stars, I think is actually kind of in the, I don't want to say perfect spot, but he's, maybe I will say perfect spot, because these, in almost every match, you're going to be able to use Bigger They Are and Heavy Handed, because you're going to have either characters that are fewer stars than you are or more stars than you are. So you're going to have play either way. And, in case you're attacking something, let's say you are attacking like a 5-star character, then Bigger They Are is not really going to help you to get that Pierce, but it will give you that +2 attack, and that will be helpful. The other thing is that there are not very many characters right now who are at 8 stars that you would want to, that you're worried about. There are a lot of characters at 7 stars that are being put into play. There's a lot of characters, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are some characters, Wave 1 Wheeljack, at 9 stars that see a lot of play. But there aren't really many characters at 8 stars that are kind of getting attention. So, generally, the Pierce, at some point, you will be able to use. So, what I'm going to kind of show you guys right here, and you're going to be subjected to my terribly slow shuffling, is kind of maybe some opening plays that you might want to do. Actually, probably the only opening play that you might want to do. Something to note is that Reckless Charge is also something that you could consider. The only thing that worries me about that, sorry, that is my cat in the background, jumping on stuff, knocking stuff over, being a cat. Reckless Charge is something that you could maybe consider, but the 3 damage that you're taking from it is definitely a liability in this deck. Your characters have limited survivability. It's not an all orange deck where you're assuming that a character that gets hit is going to be killed no matter what. But, it's not really heavy blue enough. We're not running the double blue pips in here. These guys don't start with super impressive defense stats. So you do have to be a little bit mindful of taking damage and self-damaging. So at the moment, not in here. However, if it's something you want to try out, absolutely go for it. Reckless Charge is a very strong card. It's going into a lot of my decks right now too. So as I am getting my shuffling finished up, generally our opening plays that we're going to do are going to consist of having B flip into bot mode. You've got that 6 attack to start with, which is strong. Your 14 health is going to ensure that you will probably, almost always, survive the initial attack back. So obviously we're talking here if we are the first player. The other thing about this is that it's going to help you to get a little bit of card advantage, because when you attack, you can scrap an action from your hand in order to draw 2 more cards. So you're basically trying to set up for a big Thundercracker attack on the during that first kind of like initial rounds. You want to almost certainly kill off their scariest character within that first round. If so, you are in really, really good shape. So I'm just going to shuffle a little bit more, and we'll kind of take a look at what that initial opening hand might look like, and then what that might look like when you draw into that Bumblebee turn. When you draw into that Thundercracker turn. So, did some shuffling. Hopefully it is good enough. So, my initial 3, and then one more to start the game. So we're happy about Grenade, we're happy about Reinforced. Rollout, not a big deal, right? So, again, we said that we flipped Bumblebee. We're going to attack with him first. We're going to scrap an action card in order to draw 2 more. We drew into Heavy-Handed. We drew into Bigger They Are. Okay, so basically from here, we're off to a pretty interesting start, right? So when play kind of comes back around to us, we are set up to probably use Bigger They Are on Fireflight to kind of sneak in some damage into their attacking character. Now, Bumblebee attacks, your opponent would then attack back. Our next attack would most likely be with Fireflight, right? Because the idea is we want to hopefully save B to survive into that next round of attacks. So we're going to force them to go into Fireflight. Most times he will survive that initial hit. Obviously, if they have a really, really aggressive deck, he may not. But it will help you to protect B. And then kind of what you're then doing from here, your next turn, well, let's rewind time. So you had B attack, right? Your opponent then has their turn. They do their attack. They attack B. When it's your turn, you want to flip Thundercracker into Bob mode. And then from there, you're sending out Fireflight to attack. From here, your next goal is, after your opponent goes, it's your turn again. Goal is to flip B, which is going to get you a free action. And then you're going to have additional actions to play off of Thundercracker. You will hopefully have a pretty decent weapon on there, for example, grenade launcher, and then you're basically sending Thundercracker in there to kill whatever that scariest thing out there that is available to you. In this deck, I've been able to essentially one-shot Battlefield Legend Prime. I've basically been able to one-shot Nemesis Prime coming in, and especially if your opponent has never played against this list before and they've not played against Thundercracker ever or in a while, you can get some really, really surprising plays coming in. It should probably be noted, like, I'm not giving you this deck as, hey, take this to a big 25-person tournament, it's going to do well, because almost certainly you are going to get wrecked by bugs or other 4 or 5 wide aggressive orange teams. It'll probably get wrecked by Hot Wheels because they're able to tap and untap, so they're going to be able to control who you are sending that massive Thundercracker swing into. Most likely, you'll be forced to send that into little Wave 1 6-star Prowl. Doing a quick little shuffle here, so we're going to talk now about what is going to happen if your opponent is first player. So, again, we're going to draw our 3 cards. We've got Heavy-Handed, we've got Scoundrel's Blaster, we have Rollout. So Rollout here is kind of that quick, easy ditch at the moment for Bumblebee whenever he flips and he attacks to draw more cards. Heavy-Handed has some play, Scoundrel Blaster obviously here. So we're actually really happy here if we're preying on lower cost Autobots, because we're going to just pierce crazy amounts of damage out there. And then your opponent here is going to be forced to go into Fireflight, and then most likely you're going to probably play the game out the same way. So you're going to have Bumblebee then do his flip, Bumblebee will attack. Hopefully Fireflight survived that first attack. You can kind of soak damage off of Bumblebee being counterattacked, and it essentially plays out the exact same way. So this right here, guys, is Thunderbee. It's a lot of fun. Take it to your weekly tournament where people are kind of playing more casual or more experimental stuff out there. I promise you, you will enjoy it. So if you guys are not already subscribed to our channel, please make sure to definitely do so. We have a website. Joe puts up his deck list. I occasionally will put up an article where I'm talking about some type of deck that I'm workshopping and trying to tweak to make work a little bit more efficiently. Remember also we do have a Patreon, so check that out as well. We have some really sweet Impactor tokens that you guys can get your hands onto at the $10 level tier. This is Brian, and I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to cut out of here. Wreck and roll.